Thank you very much. The panel that has just concluded. I'd like to make a quick interruption, which I think is a very good interruption. The reason we are here is to try and get our businesses to make money on this end. And one of the things, like Chair has said, is we have a company that is interested in doing an MOU with one of our groups that came. So I'd like to give him a minute to just talk about his company before he goes. He's leaving us. He has an emergency. So we thought we should give him an opportunity just to mention what he's interested in, the kind of direction they are going, and the kind of MOU they are going to have. Then secondly, we are having also, we have the trade representative for the Balkan regions, who is also just about to leave us. So wanted to give him also just a few minutes after Ahmed speaks to just also mention briefly about the kind of direction we are going with them. So allow me to have that interruption before we get into our next panel. Thank you.
Hello guys, it's really, I want to first of all thank my father for giving me the opportunity to be here. Once we went over the meeting, we couldn't wait to come here with our African brothers and sisters. So here we go, and here's my business partner. I'll let him finish up the conversation.
How are we doing today?
Good. Great.
All right. Some people are a little bit tired, so let's warm up. Let's get going. Well, I'm glad I'm here. My name is Abdi Ahmed. I'm originally from Somalia. I've lived in the US for over 20 years. I've been in different businesses. Finally, my focus now is in the food industry. We have the only and the largest Pan-African restaurant in Columbus, Ohio. And also we're building something we call it African Village Mall. Is a mall of 7-acre land, and it will be a huge investment. So one of the things when I came to this country, I had the notion of American dream. For me, I was working hard as much as I can to achieve that. But today, I have a new dream. I want to go back home. I want to invest. I want us working together. So far, we have a good discussion with the brother Abu Bakr, with the real grain groups, and we're trying to sign the MOU. Sadly, I have my son-in-law had an accident in Columbus, Ohio, so I have to go back as soon as possible. But we will follow up with that, and thank you so much, Ali. Thank you so much. Not only inviting us to this event, but you have been consulting and advising me for the last couple of months, and we've been so grateful. And everybody here, Germans, relation to you. And it's about time for all of us to go back home and invest. So we can benefit for ourselves and benefit back home. Thank you so much. I'll give the word to you.
Thank you, Ahmed. We want to thank the government of Uganda. We want to thank the leadership already. Thank Kamani, we discussed this yesterday extensively, and we are great that we are building a foundation to this. And our partner here is the expert, and he's trying to make the tie with the strings. But we want to pledge that we are committed, and we shall not disappoint. Raw grains.
What are you going to sell to him?
Basically, raw grains. We deal in cereals, we deal in coffee, we are in soya, we deal with the African foods, we are in simsim, and we have invited Ahmed to come and look at our whole portfolio range. We are going to introduce them with the name. He has a mall here. We are going to work on the protocols of trying to export. And I've given him that the meeting in Kampala with the President Dr. Bob Marchi will come down in Kampala, and then we find it. But at least we are going to have a broad cooperation agreement in the food industry, and other areas of expertise. Thank you very much. You have also invited us to go Ohio from this meeting. We are going to go to Ohio, and then we will be for it. Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel, my son. This is my son. So have a seat. And he's working with him. He's a businessman too. He's a football player in the US. It's a second league in the US. Thank you so much for bringing. This is what we need today. Success stories, when we go back, we need what to say. No. He's coming. So, is he going to sign the name too? Yeah. We have a trade rep from Balkans. If you can come here, please say a few words. You come in? Okay.
Hello everybody from my side. My name is Bratislav. My last name I better don't pronounce it. Cannot tell it. English. I told you. So, it's my great pleasure to be here with you today. Last week I spent in London. I had the great pleasure to meet His Excellency President Mussolini. And then I flew back home to Belgrade. I came here to Chicago for only 2 days just to express my commitment and gratefulness for having me selected to represent Uganda in the Balkans. I'm a media owner down there, and I have a trade and investment advisory firm in Belgrade, but also in Dubai, and I'm in this business for a long time. As you all, I had many opportunities, met many business leaders, government leaders all over the world, but what made me believe very much in the business in Uganda is Rodrigue's commitment. He was my guest in Belgrade, a short energy, the willingness to really boost Ugandan exports, so he made me believe big time, and I'm very much ready to support exports of Uganda to my country and the neighboring countries. So basically the region of South, I tell you a few details. The region of Southeast Europe consists of the countries of Greece. So I'm speaking like from southeast to the north. So Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia, other countries of ex-Yugoslavia being Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia, North Macedonia, Montenegro, Albania, and Hungary to the north. We are in the midst of Europe. And there are many countries that I mentioned, but all of them are like in a flight distance. Like I was flying from New York to here like almost 3 hours last night, and all the countries that I mentioned, flights are like less than 2 hours. Most of them 1 hour flight away from one another. So we are all very close to each other. Some of the countries are members of the EU, some are not. This may be seen as a drawback or as an advantage, but when it comes to Serbia, which we want to establish as a hub, it's an associated country to the EU, meaning it doesn't need to obey to the Brussels regulations, so we can do any kind of trade with our African friends and partners, and this is why we want to establish it in Belgrade. What do we want to do? We want to create what I call a Ugandan cultural and hospitality center downtown in Belgrade, in the old town. And I'm just screening here in the room like the coffee shop that we have, the nice like paintings, and the people selling the clothes and the nice stuff. So we don't want to make it a regular coffee shop. We want to make it really a showroom for the people to feel and to understand. And we want to build upon the great history that we have between all Yugoslavia and Uganda, from the non-aligned movement, from the first one we had back in 1961 in Belgrade and in 1989. And as I was informed by Odrik, and I'm looking forward to this very much. Next year you are about to host it in Kampala, so let's get prepared for that. And all the political ties and the nice relationships, let's try to build them through the business collaboration. Belgrade, it may be interesting for you to know Belgrade in 2019 was selected like the best nightlife city in the world. So we are really the people who spend a lot of time in hospitality, spend a lot of time in restaurants and drink a lot of coffee. And when it comes to coffee, like in Belgrade, in Serbia, you have only 2 Starbucks stores that are working because there are many local coffee shop chains that are much stronger than that, with like 200 or 300 coffee shops that you get. In Greece, the same. You have Mikel, you have Coffee Island, the brands that you probably never heard of, but they are dominant in the market because like the coffee drinking culture is on a very high level. And I was checking, like when we started to work, like the imports, as Ulrich mentioned earlier today, it's coming like the espresso capsules from Italy. Brazil is dominating. Imports coming through Italy, as I said, in Uganda. There is some exports from Uganda, but very, very little. And I think there is great room that we improve it and boost it further on. What is also relevant for Serbia? This is, I believe, the only country in the world, especially in these turbulent times today, that has zero trade agreements with the European Union on one hand side, but also with the Russian Federation. So if you establish a hub in Belgrade, you can freely trade with the EU and with Russia as well. And this is hopefully when the Ukrainian unfortunate situation calms down, maybe exploited by the producers from your beautiful country. I'm very much looking forward to February. I want to spend a few weeks in Uganda to meet all the producers in person and to see what concretely we can do in 2023. To summarize my story, like as I had the opportunity and honor to speak to Mr. President, we are planning a visit of His Excellency to my country in June, and we are expecting to have a great event down there that will further boost the collaboration. Thank you very much.
What's your name again?
My last is.
Thank you so much for the work you are doing as a trade rep for Balkans. Thank you so much for a wonderful visit, upcoming visit. So we are going to wrap up with the last panel. The last panel we want to hear his experience. To Ghana. Now he's investing in real estate in Ghana. So we would like also to invest in real estate or other opportunities available in Uganda. So you want to share with us what your experience in Ghana as a US company. So I'm not sure, we are supposed to have Abdi, the guy who's signing MOU. Something unique, maybe he did not mention to you. He was in Minnesota. Minnesota has the largest Somalian community. That's why we have an elected U.S. representative. You know her. She has a big voice. So he was one of the largest mall you see in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. He's one of the owners of many businesses there. Now he's leading the restaurant chain in the Columbus, Ohio, and in Minnesota. So he said to me, he wants to be the broker to introduce all the products you saw today in the US, because he's in the food business. So he was supposed to have this chair. Maybe I will leave this chair empty. So the floor is yours, Agnes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamanzi. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My job is going to be easy today, because all the numbers have been shared, the products, the services that we can tap into as business partners and investors. So basically, the people up here, we have Cody, then we have also Alonzi, and we are going to look at, after all has been said and done, do we have people who can come up and testify that, yes, I went down to Uganda, did this, or Africa for Alonzi in Ghana, and it worked. What are the success stories? So this is basically the icing to the cake. I'm Agnes Netunze Chitumba, the CEO for Seco Designs. Seco Designs is a ethical fashion house that manufactures leather bags, earrings, shoes, apparel, home decor items. And our story goes back to 2009, when as a small business, we began with a dream of making products from Uganda and exporting them to the US. It was a wild dream that so many people thought it cannot happen, and that's why we're here to share this story. In 2010, we had the first small box of 50 pairs sent to the US. With only 50 pairs, it was so hard. Because once the goods hit the Houston port, we were told of the 16% taxes that we had to pay. And as a small business with a big dream of tapping into the huge American market, we said, how can we go on with this? 2 years down the road, struggling to ship into bulk, we landed on the AGOA, the African Growth Opportunity Act. This is one that lets all sub-Saharan countries export close to 6,500 items into the US.
So I apologize, there's somebody who was supposed also to press Abdi. I will not have pressed Abdi, we were supposed to have a phone. So Sujala, for who's big in fish market in Uganda, this is a story in Uganda who's doing big things in Uganda. I promise you'll be here, so I apologize again. So please, have a seat.
Yes, so in 2012, we began exporting to the US using the AGOA Act. And this helped grow our volumes from $50,000 a year to last year where we exported close to $1 million worth of leather bags, shoes into the United States. One of the former panelists shared how, as Ugandans, out of the 6,500, we've only done a small percentage. So up here, with all these others, we have to share that it is successful. Let us utilize the 6,500 products that the US government allowed duty-free into the US. It's going to take the partnerships that are happening tonight, that are happening right now. Personally speaking, I don't know if Daniel Anderson is here. Last night, he told me how he had booked a ticket to fly to Uganda to look for a leather company. And a leather company was here executing. He passed around, he couldn't believe that it is true. So those are the dreams that are coming true. Where are brains? He has just made his dream team here. So if you're seated here and from what was shared, you're like, is it true? Is it happening? The team up here are going to tell us what their journey has been. I've shared my personal experience. It's been 12 years of exporting into the US, and I have my two lovely long-time partners over there. Everything they are wearing is Sepos. Sarah and Hope, please stand up. So everything you see they have is Sepos. So these are tangible examples we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. My boots alone were made by Sepos. This is 2018. So imagine a boot made 2018. So the pants Sarah is wearing, the mouthwash showers, the scarf, the bags, even Hope's shoes, by the way. So we can make this. Yes, the t-shirt Sarah is wearing, I wore it here in Chicago at the Global Leadership Summit, and while I was on stage, it sold out. So the t-shirt Sarah is wearing, like a girl's compliment, we produced it in 2019. And I wore it at the Global Leadership Summit in Willow Creek, and it sold out while I was on stage.
This is my parent house.
Yes. So Madame Susan is the one that introduced us to AGOA. We were busy struggling. As we were struggling with paying taxes and all those things, she's like, hey guys, you're going to the US market? Please use AGOA. Standards and keeping quality has been one of the things that we really look into. So my Ugandan fellow business owners, please know the clients you're wanting to touch. You have to meet their standards and expectations. For us, quality is key. For every customer complaint, we make sure that it is responded to and resolved. So that was my second story. Allow me to get to my panelists. I'll begin with Mr. Kodi, and it's basically they're going to tell their story. I had a few questions for them, but why ask the question when they can share the story? There is always a power in a story. So Mr. Kodi, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Agnes. Good afternoon, everyone. Audrey, thank you for reminding me that I need to send you a bill for that coffee. Get right on that. Okay. Let me clarify that while the coffee that you had for dinner last night and the lunch break coffee was Indiro, the other coffee that's been at the booth has been representing several companies from Uganda. We went through a very elaborate process, and it's just the best of the best. So we had Mountain Harvest and Masha and Rwanga, and who am I missing? Kikobara. So they all produced some amazing coffees. I hope you've tasted them all. If not, you should do so. But Uganda, unfortunately, has developed in the specialty coffee industry globally a bad reputation because we've been producing a lot of coffee, but a lot of it's been bad. And now we're trying to change that narrative to get to where we're featuring and showcasing the best of the best, because there truly is some amazing coffees out of Uganda, but there's also some truly bad coffees out of Uganda. And we're having some hard conversations to own that. Realize that, look, it's not every leather shoe that's made in Uganda that is good, right? So if we're showcasing the worst of our products, we're not getting anywhere, right? Now, I promised myself, not to bring us down, but my father unfortunately passed away just a couple weeks ago. And I promised myself that I would talk about him the next time I had a chance to talk. So my dad, his name is Joe Lawrence, and I grew up with Lawrence's Texaco, which is a gas station in Oklahoma. And I grew up around gas pumps and fixing flat tires and changing oil. And I've been thinking about my dad today in thinking about what I wanted to share about the Indiro story. And a few lessons that he taught me. One, he would wake me up early in the morning, 5 a.m., and he'd say, "Hey, Cody, why don't you come to work with me?" And I used to think, wow, my dad needs me, an 8-year-old boy, to come and work at his gas station. What is he going to do without me? He needs me. And when I got older, I realized he didn't need me. I realized I was in the way, but he took me along anyway. And so that's a lesson that I learned from my dad, is don't just look for the people that you need, look for the people that you can take along with you and that you can build into. And so from that perspective, I want to thank my co-CEO, Gloria Tatsine, you back there? Because she's the one who founded Indiro and has took me along for the ride. Probably slightly before she needed me. Now maybe you don't need me and I can retire, huh? I'm not yet. Soon. The other thing that what was always said about my dad is that we'd say in Oklahoma, we'd say, that boy, he'd give you the shirt off his back. And we'd say it just like that. Give you the shirt off his back. And that just meant that was somebody who was always going to be generous to you, who was always going to be kind to you. And I saw that with my dad his entire life. And so as a company, Indiro, one of the things that we've always prioritized, and I hope we always continue to prioritize, is to lead with generosity. That by leading with generosity from the coffee tree to the coffee cup, we can ensure that wealth is created for everybody involved. So to my fellow trade representative, Mr. Kalanzi, who has left when he heard me speaking, he left. Mr. Kamanzi had shared something here that I want to just pick up on. Is that we've already made a commitment at Indiro that we're going to begin in 2023 something called an FSOC, a farmer stock ownership, so that farmers will be able to own equity, not only at the farm level, but at the end of the value chain. So in the presence of many witnesses, only for accountability, you can come after me if I don't keep my word. And then also in front of a few other directors and stakeholders in Indiro, maybe they'll also match this. But I'm committing 5% of my shareholding to the farmers. So they will have that. And then hopefully Gloria will match, maybe, and maybe Mary will match. We'll see. I'm challenging them in front of you all, and they're not committed. So stare at them. But we know that if a coffee farmer doesn't have a voice at the cappuccino level, then they don't really have a voice in the value that's really created in the coffee industry. Only 10% of the total value of the coffee industry ever makes it back to the country of origin. And of that 10%, so little of that gets to the farmer. And we want to change the narrative. And the only way we can do that is do business differently. My dad also, and I'm still amazed, and I don't know how he did it, he never met a boring person. And I meet boring people all the time, in this room, some of you, man. But my dad would never meet a boring person. I mean, he could just talk to anybody, and he would just ask questions and listen, and some of you have met him, and you've been in those conversations. And I learned from him that there's something you can learn just about anyone. And as an American who is not a good business person, but who has spent a lot of time in Uganda, I will say I've learned so much there. And I've learned so much from many people in this room who've become dear friends. And if you want to know kind of like the secret to whatever Indiro's success is, I think a lot of it has to do with generosity. A lot of it has to do with learning to learn from everybody you can. You know, after a while, maybe somebody proves that they're not worth listening to, but at least give them that first opportunity to listen. And we're trying as much as we can to do that. So I wanted to honor my father by sharing those few lessons. And I think, for the most part, I'm trying to carry those lessons with me as we continue as a business. Now, I was asked for a few numbers. I'll give you a few of those numbers. Indiro Coffee, we started in 2011 in Uganda. We were actually 17 coffee shops, mostly in Uganda, now we're in Kenya. But we started our US operations in 2017. Between 2017 and today, we've spent about $3 million in total investment on the US side, developing that. Your Excellency, welcome. I wanted to honor you before, but welcome. So we've spent about $3 million to get us to this point where we are annually producing close to $2 million a year in revenue in the US side of the operations. Now, to change your perspective a little bit, remember that while we have a base of operations in the US, this is still a Ugandan-owned company, which means the revenue we are creating in the US, much of that is returning to Uganda. Okay, so we're trying to do things differently. Now, a lot of times we talk about value addition and export, and we draw this line at the border. So that's the end of value addition. Of course, there's more value addition after that, but it's somebody else's value. What we've tried to do as a company is vertically integrate all the way from the tree to the cup, so that any value that's created at any point still is Ugandan value, right? So we're not a rich company, but we've created a model that we hope enriches people at any part of the value chain, and we hope becomes a disruptive model that changes the way we do business from Uganda to the rest of the world. Now, we are expecting to invest about $6 million more in our U.S. operations over the next year and a half. And our anticipation is that that will create about $12 million in extra annual revenue the US side. But we're actually hoping for much, much more than that. So, Chairman Odrik, you are uncomfortable with being called chairman, but Odrik, you've been saying 700 million, something like that in coffee. We could do that here alone. We could do that just in Aurora alone. So we'll have more conversations, but even today, we've talked to people, we can do it. One big off-taker can take care of that. So we just need to believe, and I think we have a great coffee team, not only in Bureau, but the other people in the room, that we can accomplish these things and go well beyond. So I just ask for, I thank you for the confidence of letting me be a trade representative, but I'm asking you now to believe my big and crazy dreams, because I think we can do a lot more than what we're anticipating. So I'll leave it there, but thank you to my Indiro team. Thank you to my wife also, who's back there. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cody. A big applause, bigger than that. As he was speaking, I thought let's have just 1 minute of silence in honor to his dad. There's two things I want to recap from his speech that really stuck out to me was learning to learn from anywhere you go. So I know so many people with all the experiences are going down to Uganda or meet different business partners, but the humility in what he's saying of being able to learn from this person, understand them, and maybe prove them wrong later, but giving them a benefit of a doubt to learn. Then we've been experiencing so many investors where it is all about go invest and then go back home to your home country with the investment money. And he's doing something that is really profound to our Ugandan business owners. Investing and leaving the money where you did the investment. That is going to be very disruptive, and I hope we see more of those businesses coming up. Next is Mr. Lons, right? And he's into real estate. And in Uganda, this is something that is also coming up, and he's going to share his story and his success stories. If you want to go back to Africa, in Uganda in particular, what have they gone through and some of the numbers that they have seen over the years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I get into the details, right, I'm happy to be in a room with such amazing business people, entrepreneurs, and the like. I've been thankful for Olivier Commanding. I've been part of the organization, the Chamber, for almost 3 years now. Right? I am a real estate broker. Right? I own A Progeny Global, which is a real estate brokerage and investment company. And the thing about A Progeny Global, my last name is Abram. A Progeny Global. Abram Progeny Kids going global. Right? Everyone within our organization, our affiliates, our community, we got to take it global. But the thing that we even came about has been a dream. We've been talking about dreams, big dreams. I've always been a big dreamer. I've always been a serial entrepreneur since I was a kid. Now, I'm just going to go back a little family history. Unfortunately, I lost my father as well, so I definitely understand. Over a little bit over a year, he drunk himself to death. Right? And I don't want to make this a sad situation at all. I'm just going back to give a little history about some of us African Americans, right? So I'm born on the south side of Chicago, and my mother bounced around a lot, right? So I'm really not from a certain part of Chicago, because we bounce around too much. So her mother, right, is from the south side of Chicago. Her mother is from south side of Chicago. One time I was in Ghana, and I was asked where I'm from. And I was like, Chicago. He was like, no. Where are you from? I'm like, Chicago. No, wait. Then I get it. I cannot say it. You know, I don't have an answer to that. So one thing I like for our community to recognize is that when you don't know where you're from, you cut off already. You're at a disadvantage already. Because if you're in Chicago, you're in the inner city of Chicago, you're just in the inner city of Chicago. where are you going to go from there, right? So what we're looking to do as being a real estate brokerage and investment, we're going to put that part to the side. It's the consulting part, right? So it was always a dream of mine, and the dream came, and this is a weird, it's not a racial thing, but it is, right? We moved to Indiana, a city called Peru, Indiana. I used to watch the Ku Klux Klan march on the courthouse, right? That made me start studying, self-study, right? Literally, I was in class one time and they played the movie Roots. I'm the only black kid in the class. So you can imagine the emotions. I had to sit in the hallway. And just, long story short, they had to put me in the hallway. But it made me go back and start studying myself, and you start realizing who you really are and what's going on. So that led me to want to go to school for civil rights, right? And while I'm in school, I started learning to say, wait a minute, you need the money, right? It's okay. I love our civil rights leaders. I love everyone who push the cause. But money is a tool that's needed. So it's like, okay, I want to go to Africa, and we need some money. So as I grew up, I was doing different entrepreneurial things, and then I landed into real estate. Then I started noticing how real estate you can create money. So now it's like, okay, I think I found the video. Now how am I get to Africa, right? 2016, actually, see Amber, which she's part of the chamber as well. She was my attorney who helped me incorporate my business. She invited me to South Africa along with Dave Anderson, right? And that trip, Dave couldn't make it that time. And that was my first experience in Africa, right? When I came back, the community, the people that I'm around, looked like Africa, and they had all these crazy thoughts, right? And I'm like, no, you know what? I'm just gonna show. So I had the opportunity to start going to Ghana, right? I have a lot of friends that's in Ghana, that's been doing stuff in Ghana, but I never went. I had the opportunity with Olivier Command. He actually took me there. I was actually went to the inauguration of the president, right? So while I'm there, I was blessed to be a part of many meetings that Olivier have going on within the country, which led me to start doing my business in Ghana. So even at the moment right now, with different companies in Ghana who we run a little bit. I'm also on the vice chairman of the Chicago Association of Realtors Global Council. Right? Chicago Association of Realtors, big brother is the Illinois Association of Realtors, big brother is the National Association of Realtors. The National Association of Realtors helped create the Ghana Association of Realtors. Being in the position that I'm in now, I started learning, okay, first, before you go to any country, you have to learn the landscape. So if I'm going to be a consultant here in Chicago, in the States, you might have a brother or sister who want to do business in that country. They don't know anything. There's a lot of people who want to do business. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the room who have things now that I probably could find someone who would do business, but they don't know about it, right? So we look to be that agent. So we took it on our shoulders to go ahead and let's learn the landscape. Let us do the hard work. You know, you cannot just go to Ghana and think you're going to buy some land and do some investment and think it's sweet. It's not going to happen. It may end wrong, right? You got to know the landscape. You got to know the rules. You got to know the laws. I call it dating. One business tactic that I learned and I bet in our organization is I'm a dater. That means I'm going to date you. I'm going to date the situation. I'm going to date the deal until we get married. We can date for years, right? I'm a patient guy. Earlier we said patient money. You gotta have patience with any long-term objective, right? So our goal is long-term. So when you go back to thinking about Ghana, and this is going to lead to Uganda, right? It's not just Uganda that we're looking to do. Ghana that we're looking to do business in. We're looking throughout our thing is I want to lead this to my kids, their kids, and if they don't want to be a part of it, hopefully we put a well-put organization together that it can carry on for generations after generations. Because our plan is Africa, Latin America, and Colombia. Because all of us is everywhere. We are all over the place. We are the diaspora. So it's really, I was listening to Uganda, and I heard when the president said, you want to come, we'll give you land. You can build a warehouse. You know, if you export 8%, that's duty-free. These are things that people need to know about. You know, like the AGOA, and all the products that can come do fruit. A lot of us don't know about that type of stuff, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs, there's a lot of real go-getters. Like when we're in the city of Chicago, and, you know, you have so many of us that's out here. Right now, as I speak, I have a nice community of entrepreneurs around me. I grew up as entrepreneurs, I work with entrepreneurs, and I work with investors. Right now, when I walk out the door, I know I'm gonna have calls that say, how did it go? You know, and I'm from all races. Right? The chairman of the Global Council, she's from Georgia, right? And she said, Alonzo, I picked you to be my vice chair because I know you have an Africa agenda, and we need to help bring that African agenda to the association, right? So to bring it back to Uganda, like I know that you guys now heard I'm going in February, I'm going in March, Big David's going in January. I know I'm going to be one of the people that go to Uganda, and my thing is, everything that everybody does, they have to have real estate involvement, right? So my role is to learn that, you know, so if you got associations, what is the association? What are the rules of the game? How do we get involved? The first thing, like, you got to go for the low-hanging fruit first, right? What countries you got the easiest to do business in first? Let's make us some wins, and then we can show these wins back in the States. People just want to see wins. They don't know, some people don't even know how to get to God. You know, what shots they gotta take. I was told the other day, you gotta take a million shots, don't you? No. You know, so it's like, we looking to be the educator, right? Looking to be that consultant, looking to be that liaison to help bring those businesses back and forth. So one of my, Dion in the back, we always talk, he said, one thing is, I know we can go do investing there, but how do we get money here? How do we make parties there and get money here? So one of you guys may be in Uganda and call and say, so, I know you're in Chicago, look, let's make an arrangement. We got to go back to the date. We need the date, right? And then get married, and then let's make some money. So I keep going about this because it's really a real passion. My daughters is 13 and 8, and if my oldest daughter wasn't sick, I was going to bring her, right? They know what's going on, right? Family knows what's going on. And I'm going to say this because I'm going to bring that part up because go back to us being African Americans. A lot of us really don't know. And a lot of us, if we had the opportunity, we would do it. You know, so I just wanted to bring that up. And I just leave it at that. So, like I said, go back to it. I'm happy to be in the room with a great individual. It's inspiring. I know when I walk out the door, I'm gonna feel more like a giant because it's like a mission. It's not about me, right? There's a bit of goal to everything, and I'm with it because I can't even start to say what I really want to say about the goal of Africa. Because we all know where everybody comes from. We all know the resources, and they had a lot of the real truth, right? And this is, and I won't go into all of that, but thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. As you were speaking, I realized we did hear some numbers because basically we want people to know how successful. Has it worked? Is it working? That is the main reason we want them to really listen to us.
Yes. So right now in Ghana, what we decided to do, so when we went out there and we located some land along with Mr. Olivier, he got some great investments, but even outside of that, we're looking to do developments to sell. The market is changing. So going through COVID, and then also the market changing, is making us pause for a second. It's not a reason, it's not a bad reason for us that, okay, we don't want to be in the country. What's going on is better opportunities coming, right? So at the moment, Ghana was last year when we first started going to Ghana. So when it comes to numbers, because as far as deals, we haven't done any real estate deals. Consulting, that's a difference. We're more looking, we hired, we got 10 people that we're working with in Ghana that we're going back and forth with as far as helping build a project over there. So we have 10 agents that's on the ground there, and we have consulting contracts as well.
So is it something you really say it's going to kick off, and you will upload people to take it on?
That's not even without a question. That's absolutely without a question. To be honest, being an investor, some people lose their shirts when the market changes. I'm looking forward to have things going right now because it puts us in a better position financially. Right now, what we're doing is You get out of debt, get as much as you can, get your money together because opportunity is coming. Right? The same property that was $1 million, then you can get, you're gonna be able to get less even in 2023. So as far as long term, Ghana is our long term plan. Africa is a long term plan. So there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. There's a lot of people that's in the tourism business. So we're in real estate, but we want to go into the tourism. We want to get into agriculture, right? But we had to find our way in. That's one of the things that we have to. So some people grew up into agriculture, grew up in real estate. We're trying to find our way into the market, right? So luckily that my way is in real estate, and Ghana is not a situation, it's not a place where you can just come back to Chicago, I can come and I can buy a house, I can fix it and sell it. It's not that easy of a process, right? And then the banking problem, like we talked about that, the banking system is another challenge as well. So you have to raise money to buy to sell, right? So that's one of the things that we recognize is okay now, it's affordable housing prices, right? So, but we know that there's people and institutions and organizations that's actually working to solve those problems, and we definitely have belief that that's going to happen. We're tying ourselves with that long-term belief until the affordable housing crisis, right? We say get solved, right? And I think that's a real banking issue, right? Because it's hard to talk to an individual to say, hey, come and buy build a tenure in Ghana, right? You have to leave that money though. When I can do it in Chicago and I can pull that money back out through the loans, right? You have to leave it. So that's one of the challenges I see, but we definitely have faith in the long-term affordable housing. Until then, what we're doing is a tourism, right? You have people that's coming and they're buying these condos, they're buying these properties, right? But now, you don't want to just sit on the sideline and do that part while we wait on a housing crisis to help affordable housing. So what do? So now we're looking at partner with individuals who say, okay, say agriculture, use that for example. Matter of fact, is a guy that's in Ghana, he do chickens, raise chickens, right? So we're talking about that. So maybe we can become an investor in that, and we can help develop that, and then that brings employment, and that brings money, right? Because even the people in the countries, right? We say Ghana in the countries, they need money, right? You need money to buy stuff. So we're looking for other opportunities as well outside of real estate. Even though we talk real estate, we're looking for other opportunities to actually be a part of.
Well, thank you so much. And what I let it go on is to show would-be investors who want to go to Uganda that it doesn't start easy. When you hear Cody share how successful they are, how they want these millions back, you think it started tomorrow and overnight it got to where they are. When you hear Seco exporting to the US 12 years, you think, wow, it's been so easy. So him sharing where they are at and still willing to go up is inspiration and success stories for us to know that it starts hard, but with determination, perseverance, then we get to where we want to go. Lastly, I will end with my fellow Ugandan brother, who is also exporting into the US. He's going to share where they've come from, where they are not at, and any more encouragement to people who want to do what you're doing.
Thank you, Nicholas. Good afternoon. It's a privilege to be in this room to tell a real story about Uganda. In Uganda, I would start with, we have got 3 P's. It is peaceful, it is pleasant, and it is profitable. When we say invest in Uganda, we are one of the testimony of that. We have been exporting fish from Uganda since 1991. In 2005, I had the privilege of getting the Platinum Award for the highest exporter in Uganda. At that time, fish earned more than coffee. Today, fish exports is second to coffee. But our main market that we have always been, and even today, is Europe. We export Nile perch fish. 85% of our fish goes to Europe, and the rest 15% goes to Southeast Asia, Middle East, and to some extent to Australia, and a very little to American market. Now why? The American market is far from us. The American market has already various types of fish by itself. The Nile perch that we sell is very much liked in Europe, and that's why we get the major share of the Nile perch business from Europe. But we are seeing a dwindling situation in European market as well, and that is one of the reasons for me to come here this time, to see and whether we can actually get a little bit share of our produce to America to start with. But I also wear the hat of being the chairman of Nile Perch Fish Processors and Exporters Association. So I will not talk about only Karmic Foods as a company, but as a fish industry as a whole. We have all the standards maintained in Uganda, because when you sell to Europe, you have to have all the norms, all the EU approvals to export. So when we want to come to USA, it is not very difficult because we are ready. We have the Global Food Safety Standards certifications. We are all ISO certified companies, and we all maintain the phytosanitary standards at international levels. So when we say that what is the success story of an investor in Uganda, we are one of we are one of them, because as Alpha Group, Karmic Foods is part of our food division. We also have engineering and logistic solutions in Uganda. In the engineering solutions and logistic solutions, we have base in Mombasa and in Tanzania, but we are trying to replicate the whole thing into Uganda now. So our investment that is going to come into Uganda also is going to be quite substantial. I will not be able to give you the numbers right away, but of course, a very interesting thing that we have recently started is to build a ship in Uganda, because when His Excellency was so excited and he was talking about we are building buses, we are building cars. Now he is talking about we are building ships. Now that's something which we want to also showcase ourselves to the rest of the world, that we are not only looking at agricultural produce, we are also looking at making Uganda a manufacturing hub as well. In our processing plant where we are in Entebbe, we have got our fish processing plant, which is one of the largest in Uganda. On top of that, in the same facility, we are building that ship, which is 1,000 metric ton ship. It will carry 21 trailer trucks in that ship, and it will carry cargo from Port Bell to Mwanza, and it will do a turnaround in 22 hours. It's by road, it will take actually 2 to 3 days to do that. Now that transformation that we are bringing into through investment in Uganda from our group is something quite substantial. On top of that, we, in the same way that you have seen in the hub that we have seen in the video, we want to bring in more investments into Uganda in the form of making a complete cold chain systems in Entebbe, very near to the airport. So you can see that investments are possible and successful in Uganda. And I would say that those who have interest to put money into Uganda, irrespective of the cost of finance that we were hearing earlier, it's still profitable, because if we have to borrow at 18%, and I'm saying that we have the 3 Ps, which is the last one is profitable, it is still profitable there, because we can make things happen there. And I'm sure anybody who has not been to Uganda, I would tell them, please come to the part of Africa. It is the best in the world. It is the best place to live in the world in terms of the temperature, in terms of the people. The people in Uganda are so peaceful and so smiling. You cannot believe it. They are the best. and I love to be in Uganda. I've been in Uganda for the last 24 years, and that's how I've grown over there over these years. My children have grown there, and I love to be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Thank you all my panelists, and thank you for listening to us. This brings us to the end of our discussion. Basically, we just wanted to show you that it is possible. Cody has done it. We have done it for 10 years. Alonso is starting it. 25 years of him even being in the country. So you can relocate, you can stay where you are and still do it. Thank you so much. I'll hand over to Mr. Kalanzi. We have Kamanzi in Uganda, so sorry.
Sister, this is East Africa, right? Yeah, I've got brothers and sisters, same name here and there. So please give them another round of applause, please. More. The stories are very inspiring. Thank you for being a success story for Uganda.
Thank you.
Telling us it's possible.
It is possible.
It is safe to invest in Uganda. It is possible to make money in Uganda. It is possible to have your return on your investments, higher return than what you're making here in the US. I have heard that even myself, you can make even 60% of a return on investment, even more. Here in America, if you're lucky, you make 10%, 5%, 10%. Therefore, it's better to do business in Uganda. I think most of you are American companies. Those who come in the different states, apart from Illinois, I know people who came from Ohio, I came from North Carolina, and so many states. Please, as the chairman is outside, I want to invite him here to wrap up. Then we can talk about what is outcome. It's good to be a conference like this. So what is next? Before that, you want to say something?
Thank you, Oliver. There are two things that I just wanted to share with this team here. While I call Mark Sele, who is with us from Global Standard Certification, he does organic, is an organic certifier. So for those who are going to be seeking organic certification through Global Standards, he's going to be here to just say one minute about organic certification that we're doing for organic certification. And then after that, we're having a 1 minute video that is going to run on our Farmers Network app. Welcome.
Thank you very much. We're an accredited, American accredited certification agency for the National Organic Program, just on the east side of Chicago in Indiana. And we are working in a working partnership to work in international countries with developing certification, even education on what it requires to be organic certified. We have divisions within our company on Mark certification that can talk with operators from handling, processing, crops, livestock, all the way through to meet the National Organic Program standard, which again, we're an accredited US-based certifier. And internationally, the NOP does have compliance agreements with some countries, but not all countries. And so they require basically a US-based certifier work with those individual companies to become organic certified. And it is an avenue from listening in today. I appreciate being here. This is very enlightening. It's a very great conference. If there's, it is another label. It is another avenue for marketing into the United States. We appreciate that as a certifier. But at the end of the day, our company is actually agriculture background. We're farm-based. We work within the processing world quite a bit, but we also appreciate the common sense components of becoming certified and working with groups that need understanding for compliance versus coming in like the police are wanting to make sure someone is compliant just because that's what the actual paper says. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Before I invite the chairman to close this meeting, Museveni being here with us. And so I have to say we are very, very grateful for His Excellency to be with us yesterday. He spoke more than almost 1 hour. He was very tired to be able to stay with 1 hour with us. I don't know, we, Chairman Mr. Odrick, thank you so much for the tremendous work you've been doing, making sure he comes all the way to us here in Chicago. He told us he doesn't go places, but having chosen Chicago, having chosen Midwest market means something to us. Your Excellency, Ambassador, Mr. Mwabo, when you go back, you tell him we never disappoint him. We work tirelessly through this MOU we signed. Cody here, myself, those other trade representatives, the MOUs we signed, we are going to fulfill our promises. We promise you, our US companies are ready to come on a trade mission. Now is the time to come. When you come here, it doesn't matter, even if you don't close a business. When you visit somebody, sometimes someone is observing you. It's the first step. Don't be disappointed. Oh, I did not close a deal. I came to sell my product. I did not say I came to find a partner. I did not. Those business cards you exchanged, people who visit you, people you meet here, I hope each of you had time to exchange business cards. When you go back, follow up. Make sure you, being a Chamber of Commerce, I have seen a lot. I did so trade missions. The most hardest things ever for the business people is when you follow up with somebody, that person never responds back to you, right? There is no follow-up. You get disappointed. I'm inviting you, please follow up, respond to those emails. You know, American people are not patient. I'm one of the business, I know. They want, if they write to you, you don't respond, done, right? They don't do business with you. That's how it is. It's not easy. I'm really inviting you, Ugandans. We are here, we are ears and voice. We'll follow up, we'll make sure things are done. So with that, I want to invite maybe Chairman, do you want you first or Her Excellency to come first?